The three Krath cubs tumbled through the undergrowth of Viridian 7, their chitinous plates clicking softly as they wrestled. Their species had evolved as apex predators on a world where mercy meant extinction, where every other creature existed either as prey or competition. Yet here they were, barely 2 cycles old, playing like any young creatures might. Commander Sarah Chun watched them from her observation post, a faint smile crossing her weathered face. The Krath delegation had arrived 3 weeks ago, their massive warships bristling with enough firepower to glass a continent. They'd come expecting negotiations to be conducted with the appropriate gravity befitting 2 spacefaring species. What they hadn't expected was for their offspring, brought along as was Krath custom, to become fascinated with the strange, bipedal mammals who'd claimed this world. The cub's guardian, a scarred warrior named Thexko, stood nearby with what Sarah had learned to recognize as barely concealed anxiety. His species didn't understand the human concept of letting children explore. On Krath Prime, young ones who wandered were young ones who died. "They're fine," Sarah said for the 10th time that day. Thexko's mandibles clicked in a pattern she'd learned meant disagreement. "The smallest one, Kivrashi, is approaching your equipment." Sarah glanced over. Sure enough, the runt of the group, her carapace still soft and mottled, was investigating Sarah's water bottle with the intensity of a scientist examining an alien artifact. The bottle was nothing special, standard issue, battered plastic, filled with Earth-standard H2O that Sarah had learned to appreciate during her 15 years in the colonial corps. Kivra nudged it with her primary claw. The bottle tipped. "No!" Thexko started forward, but Sarah raised a hand. "Wait." The bottle fell, its cap loosening. Water gushed out across the rust-colored soil of Viridian 7, and Kivra jumped back with a startled chirp. Her brother Zek and Mothar immediately rushed over to investigate this new development. Within seconds, they'd knocked the bottle completely over. Half its contents darkened the ground in a spreading puddle. Thexko's whole body had gone rigid, his battle stance activated by instinct. In Krath culture, to waste another's resources was an insult worthy of blood challenge. But Sarah just laughed, a sound that still unsettled the Krath delegation even after weeks of exposure. "It's just water." "Just water?" Thexko's translator struggled with his incredulity. "We have studied your species, Commander Chun. We know Earth is a water-abundant world, yes, but you are far from Earth. That bottle contained your personal ration for the day. I've got more." Sarah gestured vaguely toward the human settlement in the distance. "We always have more." This was the thing the Krath couldn't seem to grasp about humans, Sarah reflected. They came from a world of scarcity, where every resource was hoarded, every advantage pressed, every weakness exploited. The galaxy was full of species like them, harder, stronger, faster than humanity, better adapted to the cruelty of the cosmos. But humans? Humans came from a world so abundant, so ridiculously fecund, that they'd evolved not to fight over resources, but to share them, to waste them by Krath standards. Kivra, recovering from her fright, crept back toward the bottle. She extended her sensory tendrils, delicate things that seemed absurdly fragile on a creature bred for war, and touched the remaining water. Her tendrils absorbed a few drops, analyzing. Then she tilted the bottle and drank. Thexko made a sound like rocks grinding. "Commander, she cannot the chemical composition. It's fine," Sarah said. "Our doctors already cleared it. Water's water, mostly. If anything, ours has fewer heavy metals than what you bring from your ships." Zek and Mothar crowded in, shoving their sister aside to taste this strange treasure. They fought over the bottle with the casual violence of young predators, but it was play fighting. Sarah had seen the real thing, had watched adult Krath warriors tear apart prey twice their size. This was different. When the bottle was empty, Kivra picked it up in her smaller manipulator claws and brought it to Sarah like an offering. The cub's bioluminescent markings pulsed in a pattern Sarah's translator couldn't interpret, too young, too informal for the standard Krath language databases, but she understood anyway. She'd raised 2 kids of her own, back before the long deployment started. "You're welcome," Sarah said, accepting the empty bottle. Thexko watched this exchange with visible confusion. You are not angry? They destroyed your resource? They took what was yours." Sarah looked at the Krath warrior. This being, who'd probably killed more enemies than Sarah, had met people in her lifetime. And she saw something she recognized, fear, not for himself, but for the cubs. Vexko, she said gently, on Earth we have a saying. It takes a village to raise a child. Do you know what that means? I do not. It means that all children, belong to everyone. Their care, their feeding, their protection. That's not just a parent's job. It's everyone's job. She nodded toward the cubs, who'd returned to their wrestling. They spilled half and drank the rest, so what? That's what kids do. They explore, they make mistakes, they need things, and adults provide. That's the deal, but they are not your cubs. Doesn't matter. Sarah pulled another water bottle from her pack she'd been carrying extra since the cubs started following her around, and took a sip. Want to know the real secret of humanity, Thexkull? The thing that let us climb out of our gravity well and build ships that can dance with yours. The Krath warrior tilted his head, listening. We're not the strongest, not the smartest, not the fastest, but we're really, really good at deciding that other people's kids are our problem too, she smiled. Even when those kids have more teeth than we do, below them. Kivra found a stick and began batting it between her brothers, her earlier fear of the water bottle completely forgotten in the joy of the game. Thexkull was quiet for a long moment. Then, my people have been having difficulty with the treaty negotiations, I know. We do not understand why you offer such generous terms. Why you share technology, resources, territory. We keep waiting for the trap, for the hidden cost. Sarah laughed again, softer this time. No trap, just that's what we do. You came here expecting predators, right? Expected us to fight over every advantage? Yes. Well, you found predators. But we're a different kind. She watched the cubs play, so fierce and fragile all at once. We're the kind that figured out a long time ago that the real strength isn't in taking everything for yourself. It's in making sure there's enough for everyone's cubs to play. Even when they spill half? Especially when they spill half, Sarah said. Because that means they're still learning, still growing, still alive to make messes another day? Thexkull's mandibles clicked in a new pattern one Sarah had never heard before. Later, she'd learned it was the Krath expression of profound respect, reserved for the wisest elders of their kind. But right then, watching 3 alien cubs play in the fading light of a distant sun, she just smiled and pulled out a third water bottle. Just in case, Retriclog can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.